All right, guys, time to make life easy for you. All this long division can all be shortened pretty easily using something we call synthetic division. It does not work all of the time. One of the key things that you're going to want to note here is that it's only going to work when the binomial has a lead coefficient of 1. So just to give you an idea of what that means that you could divide something by x minus 1, and that would work on synthetic division. But if you had a 2x minus 1, that's no good. You can't use synthetic on that. So it'll only work if you're dividing by something that has a lead coefficient of 1. All right? So I'm going to show you how to use synthetic division. We could do A using long division, all right, but we can also use synthetic division. It's way quicker. So when you do synthetic division, you're going to start off by drawing a box that kind of looks like the opposite of what you do when you use long division. And across the top of this box, I'm going to put a 1, a 6, an 11, and a 6. And I hope that some of you have picked up on where those numbers came from. I'm just writing the coefficients. So this is a 1x cubed. This is a 6x squared. This is an 11x to the first. And this is a 6. That's where those came from. I'm dividing by x minus 4. So on the outside of the box, I'm going to put negative 4. I have to remember to change those. So that's something that I may put here. I might want to say for A, if I'm dividing by x plus 4, then outside the box, put negative 4, right? So x plus 4, the number you're going to use is negative 4. You're just reversing. It's almost like x plus 4 is a factor, and you're pulling a out of that factor, so now you're going to use the negative. All right, so here's how this works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring down this 1 to start. And then we're going to do 1 times negative 4. So that's multiplication. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Then we add 6 plus negative 4. Then we multiply. Then we add 11 plus negative 8. Then we multiply. Then we add. And now since there's nothing else to do, this last number is our remainder. So we can say that our resulting answer is 1x squared plus 2x plus 3 minus 6 over x plus 4. All right, so now one question here is where did I get, well, how did I decide to go with x squared and x to the first and 3 here? Well, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, you probably have, but every time we divide a polynomial, the degree of that polynomial goes down by 1 every time we do division. So if this is a cubic and we divide by a linear factor, it's going to turn into a quadratic. And if I then divide this quadratic by a linear factor, it's going to turn into a linear, right? So every time we do division, the power of our polynomial decreases by 1. So it's a really short way to do long division, really quick way to do division anyway, and your answer is just x squared plus 2x plus 3. Now that was pretty quick, but synthetic division is quick, and I'm going to do 4 examples here pretty quickly, so you'll have all 4 of them to reference while you're doing these notes on your own. All right. B, I have a 1. Let me just draw my box in here. My lead coefficient is a 1. That's a 1x to the 4th. That's a negative 4x to the 3rd. I don't have an x to the squared term, so I can't forget to hold that place. I have a 5x to the 1st, and I do not have a constant number, so that's a 0. On the outside here, since I'm dividing by x plus 1, I'm going to want to put a negative 1 on the outside. All right, let me start by bringing down that first term. And then I have to do 1 times negative 1. Now I have to do negative 4 plus negative 1. Then I have to do negative 5 times negative 1. Then I add. Then I multiply. Then I add. Then I multiply. Then I add. All right. This last term is my remainder. So we've discovered something pretty interesting here. We don't have a remainder, which means x plus 1 is a factor. And it also means, because of that, negative 1 is a root. So we know that because we have a 0 remainder. But that's not what the question is asking. It's just saying to evaluate this. So now that we have all of these coefficients down here, all we have to do is add in our x to whatever power these need to have with them. So this is a 4th degree polynomial, which means we're going to start off with a 1x to the 3rd minus a 5x squared plus 5x plus 0x plus 0. That all does not need to be written. And there it is. All right, another good example of synthetic division. So you may want to make a note to yourself. I know that we already know this, but in B, no remainder. That means we found a root and we found a factor of that polynomial. All right, I'm going to do a lot of skipping ahead in these next two examples, but you'll be able to see me complete them. So C, I'll set up my synthetic division. Remember to account for all those terms that have zeros as their coefficients. I'm going to bring down the -1. -1 times -1 is 1. We add, we multiply, we add, we multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And you notice we've got a 0 here. So our final answer, because all we're doing is dividing right now, is going to be negative x to the 4th. Remember, that's going to be 1 degree less than the degree of the original polynomial, plus x to the 3rd minus 2x squared plus 4x minus 4, and there's no remainder. All right, last example. So notice that I remembered I'm missing an x to the 3rd term. There is no x to the 3rd, so I held that place with a 0. And what we're dividing by, our divisor, is really just x plus 0. But it's just an x all by itself. So I have to make sure that I hold that spot with a 0 here. It's going to make division super easy. You'll see why in just a second. I'm going to bring down the -2. And then I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to get 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply. And you see why multiplying by 0 is so nice. So if we divide by x all by itself, it's going to be pretty easy with synthetic division. So I'll be left with -2x to the 5th plus 4x to the 4th minus 3x to the 3rd. I don't have to put the plus 0x squared in my final answer because that's just 0. So I can skip right along to 2x to the 1st plus 1. And I've got this remainder here, so it's plus 1 over x. And that is my final answer. All right. So your homework tonight was just to complete these notes. Tomorrow in class, we're just going to practice this stuff a bunch. Good luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.